Maharaj, whenever you are ready, we can start.
Yeah. So we can start. So we are reading from Bhagavad Gita study guide. Then it's a chapter 3, and then we continue from the verses 17 to 35.
Okay, Maharaj.
So in order to set a proper example, Arjuna should perform his duties without attachment. So performance of yagya gradually transforms the karma kandi into karma yogi. A karma yogi's objective is no longer material sense enjoyment, but liberation. By performing karma yoga, the karma yogi becomes completely detached from material activities. Still, in order to set a good example for others, he carries on his prescribed duties. Are you sure we didn't read this before?
Sorry, Maharaj.
Are you sure we did not read this before? That's where we are.
Yes, Maharaj. 317 only.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Generally, nobody works unless he is motivated by sense enjoyment. Arjuna refused to perform his duties because he could not see how he will gain from the fight. To defeat this primordial selfishness of the conditioned soul, the Lord introduces the principle of sacrifice. If one lives only for himself, he lives in vain. Verse 16. In order to progress in life, one should learn how to serve others. The best way to serve others is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In 247, Krishna already stated that Arjuna is not qualified to renounce his duties. Now, the Lord reveals that even those who are qualified to stop the work do not abandon the prescribed duties, because this would be a bad example for the common people. As self-realized, okay. Let's see. Okay. So as self-realized person is motivated to act, although he is not attached to the results of his action, his motivation comes from the desire to serve others by giving them a proper example to follow. Even the Lord himself acts as a matter of duty, because as the ultimate authority, he has to set the proper standards for all living beings. Now, this is quite important, the motivation. Now, how people work, they always need some motivation. So Karma Kandi, his motivation is some profit. So he will only do when he sees that there is some profit behind. Now, how does Karma Yogi work? He does something which he connects to the Lord. So he offers that activity, or he depends. I mean, the whole activity, or at least the results, to the Lord. Depends whenever it's a Nishkama Karma Yoga or Sakama Karma Yoga. Now, but he also needs some profit. He also needs some motivation. How is he going to work? Now, the yogi, bhakti yogi, or the devotee, his motivation to do something, to work, is that he is going to please Krishna. So only when he sees that there is something beneficial for the Lord, then he will do. That is profit. Similar, like you see, a teacher. Why is teacher teaching? If you have some teachers teaching for money, that's not a teacher. So teacher, he teaches because he wants to give some knowledge. Parent also wants to give knowledge, but parent, now there is a more obvious connection. The parent is the parent, right? So then no, there is some attachment, so he has to do it whether he wants or not. But the teacher doesn't have to do it. So if the teacher is not asking for money, and the teacher, then he is only trying to see that he teaches something to the child, and his motivation is that the child realizes, not memorizes, he realizes what he's teaching him. Then when the teacher sees that the child has realized it, that he has applied it in his life, and then he was successful, he becomes happy. That's his remuneration. That's his profit. No, not anything else. So everybody has different idea about what profit they want, but everybody is looking for some ways how to get something out of the activity. You cannot not have it. So devotee, he wants to see that the Lord gets pleased. So this is now what Arjuna has realized. Arjuna realized that he has to do the activity such a way so it pleases Krishna. Anything else, then it becomes very, very meaningless. And slowly, you can notice how it's coming to the point. Then Krishna now will, Arjuna will come to a certain point that, okay, he will, so what to do? What should I do? He will be almost surrendered, and Krishna gives him the ultimate instruction. He tells him how to surrender. So he will speak the Pranipata Pariprashna verse. This verse, we will come to it, but this verse is actually the most important verse in Bhagavad Gita. It's not the Sarva Dharma Parityaja. It's this verse. Then as we are coming, so notice how it's everything coming into place. And then when Arjuna is ripe, then Krishna will give him the proper instruction. And we will talk afterwards, then why is it the most important verse? The self-reliant person should show others how to perform their prescribed duties for the pleasure of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada writes in Renunciation Through Wisdom. Like others, sages who are in knowledge of the absolute truth maintain their bodies, but the difference is that the goal of their activities is to satisfy Lord Vishnu. Wrong and simply bad association has tightly bound up the innocent populace in mean activities. But as learned man, the karma yogi can show society how to perform all these activities for the satisfaction of the Lord. Now, this is also a very important point, which is being not properly understood. We see how devotees are confused. Devotees in ISKCON at present, how they are confused about Srila Prabhupada's teachings, his books. Some devotees, they claim that Srila Prabhupada's books are old, outdated, not useful anymore. we need to write some other books, make it more acceptable for the common age. Now the people who are more conditioned, who are even less able to understand what to do. So this is a very great fallacy. It's wrong. And this is now explained here, that a person has to gain the realization to be able to explain to the populace about what needs to be done. So to explain the people the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and how to apply them according to the time, place, circumstance right now. They're not outdated. They are very much useful now, as much as they were useful before, some years ago, as much as they were useful even like thousands of years ago. It's like saying that, well, okay, we have some Archimedes. He was, 2,000 years ago. So now, whatever he taught, it's useless. It's old. Let's change that. But then, if we then dismiss his teachings, then so many other things which we are teaching now will have no meaning. So we cannot dismiss the teachings of the Vedas, but we have to explain them. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. So we need to realize to be able to show how to connect them today, how to connect them tomorrow. The details of the explanation may vary. It may change. But the base, the principle, never changes. The problem is that many devotees don't understand the difference between principle and detail. They mix them. And because of that, they think that principle is a detail which you can change. No, principle cannot be changed. Details how to apply the principle can be changed. The principle itself, no. And everything comes from the two main principles. You remember. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Those are the main. So we have to be very careful that we always come down not to these principles. And so we have the principle. Srila Prabhupada's instructions are about how to take one to pure devotional service. That's about pure devotional service. So that's about how to always remember Krishna. And there is nothing to be added or subtracted or changed. There's no need for it. If you realize what Srila Prabhupada is saying, then you will be able to explain to anyone according to his level of consciousness. And that's how it should be. You don't have to change the books according to the consciousness of the people who are going to hear it. So you don't drop your own consciousness for them. You will rather elevate their consciousness so they come to your platform so you can talk to them. This is a very important point which it's not very well understood. Like you are trying to talk to the child. Now, you may use his language to get your point across, but you don't become a kid to talk to him. You are an adult, he is a kid. You are trying to explain to him some adult thing. So you will use the same principles of whatever you want to explain, but you may use different language so then he understands what you are telling, but you don't become the kid to talk to him. You are adult. But you adjust the detail, which is the language. Is that clear? Okay. The leaders of the human society should know the signs of Krishna consciousness and should teach the common man how to follow it. They should arrange the proper diet and medicine that will cure the material disease. The real remedy for this disease lies in partaking of the remnants of suffering of offerings made to Godhead. This is the ideal diet for the spiritual patient. And the medicines include hearing and chanting and remembering the glories of Godhead, worshipping the transcendental form of Godhead, offering him transcendental service, accepting him as one's supreme friend, and lastly, surrendering unto him in all circumstances. The leaders should therefore arrange for this diet and these medicines, if they really want to dissipate the suffering of humanity. Message of Godhead. Unfortunately, most of the leaders nowadays, they don't want to dissipate the suffering of the humanity. So that's a problem. In verse 24, the Lord defeats Arjuna's arguments that the war will be the reason for unwanted population. Krishna states then that in fact unwanted progeny appears as a result of neglecting one's prescribed duties. In verse 26, the Lord explains that the ignorant should not be encouraged with words or example to stop their work. They should be instead engaged in positive activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada explains in Renunciation Through Wisdom. Those who hanker after the fruits of their actions undertake many hardships in executing their work. Their imagination wanders like an untethered bull, and all the while their mind dictates to them that they are the actual enjoyers. Therefore, without disrupting the minds of these foolish, perverted karmis, the intelligent person should engage them in doing what they are expert in and using the fruits in Lord Krishna's service. Such a course of action will automatically uncover the fruitive worker's eternal relationship with the Lord Krishna, So, to instruct the people for their benefit, the servant of Krishna, who is free from the reactions of fruitive activities, will lead a life seemingly like of the fruitive workers, but actually he is all along performing karma yoga. So that's another very important point, that to teach somebody, no, you don't disturb him, don't disturb the mind, but you utilize that, you make him attracted to something, make him interested to know, and utilize his desire to know, to explain to him the proper way how it's supposed to be understood. So you have to create the enthusiasm in him. The utsaha must be there, that he wants to know. Then you can impart shravanam, right, the knowledge. You can induce him to contemplate on it. And he realizes. Only when he realizes, then he will understand what you are talking about. If he just memorizes something, he will not realize what you are talking about. So the process of the preaching or teaching is the same. You have to also use it this way. You have to see how to educate the people. You have to make them enthusiastic to know about what to apply, how to apply it in my life. And now, how can I study Srila Prabhupada's books? How can I apply them? This is what the preacher and teacher and parent, all of them, they have to do that. The ignorant thinks that he is the only doer. Verse 27. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan comments, the Jivatma, with a body made of knowledge, Samvit, has a sense of I and is actually the doer. But overcome with impressions, vasana, of enjoying material sense objects from beginningless time, he is embraced by Prakriti, who is situated next to him, and who is the cause of his pleasure. Therefore, through the false ego, a product of Prakriti, he becomes bewildered. Devoid of knowledge of the self, thinking himself to be a material body. He then thinks that activities which are accomplished by the Lord and the material body, senses, and life earth are being done only by himself. The doership of the Atma is only made possible by the body, senses, and life earth, and by the Paramatma, who is the activator of all things. The Jiva is not the only factor. That the Jiva thinks that he is the only doer is a result of bewilderment from false ego. Bhagavad Gita 18:14. Now you remember the principle which we were talking about, that the Jiva can only desire. The Jiva cannot do anything else. And the Paramatma, he is the one, he is the Kshetragya of everyone and everything. The Jiva is Kshetragya, partially Kshetragya of his own body. That's it. And even then, it's not complete. No. So then the Jiva would like to be in control of the body, would like to be in control of everything else, likes to play Purusha, but it's only the Paramatma whom the body belongs, actually, the material nature belongs, everything belongs to Paramatma, and only Paramatma has full control over it. So unless Paramatma sanctions our desire, it's not going to happen. So remember that when we were talking about the only things if we can do is to control our desire. And we have to do it very carefully because we have control over desire, but we don't have control over the reactions which come from fulfilling our desire.
Maharaj,
The condition.
Maharaj, can you repeat the last sentence?
Okay, it's we have full control over our free will. That's why it's free will, right? So we have full control over to desire whatever we want to do. Yes?
Yep.
You want to jump over your window, you can do that. Nobody will stop you. But we have no control over the consequences which come from doing the action. So it's very wise to think about, to use your intelligence and to contemplate, if I do this action, what's the reaction going to be? And do I want that reaction not to happen to me? If the answer is not, then the intelligent thing is not to do the action. You think about, right? If I jump off the window, I will break my legs or die. Do I want to break my bones or die? If the answer is no, then I should not be thinking jumping over the window. So our free will is free, yes, but we have no control over the consequences. Therefore, we need to educate ourselves. And this is what the Vedic scriptures talk about. They educate us about what our actions bring. So knowing that, then we should be intelligent and not desire nonsense. That's why now following the four godly principles, because there's a nonsense. So we should control doing nonsense. And the only sensible activity in this world is devotional service. So the devotional activities, devotional service, not chanting of the holy name, it's the topmost recommended by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yes? Is it okay?
Yes, Maharaj.
On the other hand, the person in knowledge understands the difference between activities of the sense gratification and those of devotional service. Verse 28. Although he is active, he is not entangled in karmic reactions. Such a person always keeps himself aloof from close association with the phenomenal world, for he aspires to elevate the soul to its original spiritual position. He understands that the soul has come into contact with matter only by a freak arrangement. Therefore, although his ears, eyes, and other senses are involved in this phenomenal world, he refrains from material activities. So, how can he refrain from material activities? I mean, all of you are working. All of you are making money. That's all material. You are spending it for material things, buying cars, paying rents, right? Buying food. It's all material activity. So how do you make it that you are not entangled in material activity? Even though you are producing, you are consuming material activity. You have to think about it. So it's not the activity itself, it's the consciousness. Why are you working? How are you going to use the results of your work? That's the difference. So the devotee, he does the same activities as a karmi. There is no problem with that. But the devotee uses the results of his activities to enhance his consciousness. So in devotional activities, the karmi, he will use it just purely for gratifying his own senses. You can have two people in front of Radha Shama Sundar in Vrindavan praying. And they look exactly the same. One person may be praying for, please, Radha Shama Sundar, please, give me devotional service. Grant me so that I can fully surrender in Vrindavan. And the other person, he may be praying to Radha Shama Sundar, saying, please, give me money. I want more money. I want to buy a lottery ticket, and please make sure I win. They look the same. The activity looks the same. But the consciousness is completely different. And as devotees, we should be very careful what is our consciousness. Don't forget the suffering or the lamentation of Dhruva Maharaj. He used no material desires to achieve the Lord. He became pure devotee. And when he became pure devotee, still the Lord fulfilled his material desires, and the lamentation of Dhruva Maharaj was about why was I so foolish as to ask for some useless things from the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada says, if you don't want to lament like Dhruva Maharaj, then don't approach the Lord for material things. But what else can we do? Because Shastra says, if you want anything, then approach the Lord. So it's fine to use that you need something, best ask the Lord anyway. But mature. With time, mature. And don't keep asking for the rest of your life. Realize that that's not really the best thing. So after some time, give up that desires and start seeing more what the Lord wants, how he wants it done, not how I want. So from Sakama come to Nishkama. Sakama it's also bhakti. It's Mishra bhakti, but it's bhakti. But it's not the platform which is recommended. Nishkama is recommended. So we should make some endeavors here. Yes? Okay. In verses 30 to 31, Krishna describes the means of achieving such a liberated state. In verse 19, Krishna told Arjuna to perform his duties with a detachment. Now, in verse 30, the Lord reveals his actual desire. Arjuna should fight, surrendering all activities to Krishna, with full knowledge of his supreme position, without desire for profit and claims for proprietorship, and free from lethargy. Full knowledge and freedom from material desires and lethargy indicates that Arjuna should be situated above the modes of nature. With this verse, Krishna introduces the point that Naishkarmya should be performed for his pleasure. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, this verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties as if in military discipline. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna, because that is the constitutional position of the living entity. The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord, because the eternal constitutional position of the living entity is to become subordinate to the desires of the Lord. Arjuna was therefore ordered by Sri Krishna to fight as if the Lord were his military commander. One has to sacrifice everything for the good will of the Supreme Lord, and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. And if there is any reluctance to execute such a stern order, which is without consideration of so-called kinsmen in the bodily relationship, that the reluctance should be thrown off. In this way, one may become Vigatar Jvara, or without feverish mentality or lethargy. The sincere devotee is assured of success even if he is unable to follow all his obligations perfectly. There are many philosophers who write comments on the Bhagavad Gita but have no faith in Krishna. They will never be liberated from the bondage of fruitive action. But an ordinary man with firm faith in the eternal injunctions of the Lord, even though unable to execute such orders, becomes liberated from the bondage of the law of karma. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injunctions of the Lord, but because one is not resentful of the principle and works sincerely without consideration of defeat and hopelessness, he will surely be promoted to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness. Bhagavad Gita 3.32, purport. In verse 33, the Lord explains that everyone acts according to his nature. It is better to be situated in one's position and try to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training, there is no use of artificially giving up duties. On the other hand, verse 34 states that acting in one's natural position does not mean submitting to attachments and aversions, raga and vesha. Yeah, to the previous point, I want to also mention, we see the story about when Lord Narayan goes to visit Narada Muni goes to visit Narayan. And on the way, he sees the Brahmana and the cobbler. And the Brahmana asks him, "Oh, Naradaji, where are you going?" "Oh, I'm going to see Lord Narayan." "Oh, that's very nice. Please, can you ask him, how long will I be here in this material world?" Right? The cobbler asks him the same thing. And Narayan, this is the cobbler, he is already liberated. But the Brahmana, he is going to be here for a very, very long time. And Narada Muni, "Oh, why? Just, no. They will, when you go back, they will ask you, what was I doing? I just tell them that I was putting an elephant through an eye of a needle." Okay. So the Brahmana, when he heard from Narada Muni that after asking what Narayan was doing, so putting elephant through an eye of a needle, then he said, "Oh, what a nonsense! How can you even think about putting an elephant through eye of a needle? This is such a nonsense. It's all bogus. It doesn't work. No, you cannot really believe all that." But when he told the same thing to the cobbler, then the cobbler just said, "Oh, wow, that's wonderful. No, only Lord can do these things." And Narada Muni, "What? You believe it?" He said, "Of course I believe it. Just look at this. I am sitting here under the banyan tree, fixing the shoes. Now the banyan tree is so huge. The banyan tree has thousands and thousands of fruits. And each fruit has hundreds of seeds inside. You know how the seeds are, no? In banyan tree. The little red fruits, and there are like a tiny, yellow, smaller than poppy seeds. That's the seed of the banyan tree. So he says, if the Lord can fit into one of the little seeds, three like this big, why can he put the elephant through eye of a needle?" So that's the point. Devotee, he doesn't dismiss. He tries to understand. He tries to see how the Lord meant it. What is what's happening? When Srila Prabhupada, in Bhagavatam, there is a description of that Maharaj Ugrasena. He had 4 billion or 3, anyway, bodyguards. And so there are some devotees not doubting that. And Srila Prabhupada was very, very heavy with them. If you don't believe, don't believe. Okay, no, just leave it. Just go. No, you are not my disciples. No, it was he was very heavy. But for us, yeah, if you try to understand from a material point of view, then how is it possible? Because even now you have what's the population now, like 8 billion on the planet, something like that. No, and that was only like a 4 billion was the bodyguards, and they had a family, and then there's so many. So, and it was only in Dwaraka. But we know that there are also like many dimensions. Even the scientists know So our perception is one way, but we are unable to see so many things. We don't see heavenly planets because not the demigods, they want to hide the heavenly planets from us. We are not qualified to see that. So what's the problem? Qualify yourself and then you can see. No, I don't want to qualify. I want to see now. And if you don't show me now, I don't believe. So what? Don't believe. Who cares? So we have to be also, if you want to know exactly, then pray to Krishna. Krishna can reveal it to you and make you understand exactly what you want to see. He has the power. But then don't get bewildered. No, something that thinking, oh, this is magic. This is something, no, so wonderful. It's better than devotional service. Be very careful. Okay. Srila Prabhupada explained in his purport, as long as the material body is there, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations. And yet, we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. One has to follow those rules and regulations, unattached to them, because practice of sense gratification under regulation may also lead one to go astray, as much as there is always the chance of an accident even on the royal roads. Although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger even on the safest road. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current a very long time, owing to the material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. Therefore, an attachment to regulated sense enjoyment must also be avoided by all means. But attachment to Krishna consciousness, or acting always in the loving service of Krishna, detaches one from all kinds of sensory activities. Therefore, no one should try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness. So, yeah, that's very, very important point. And just by following the regulative principles does not guarantee you that you are free from attachments. Eventually, no, even that has to be given up for always remembering Krishna. So for the pure devotional service, then even the attachment, which at the beginning they are very useful, regulated attachments to the material world, but even that is to be given up because they will be obstacles. One should perform his own prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness rather than take up those prescribed for others. In his purport to verse 35, Srila Prabhupada explains that there are two types of prescribed duties, material and spiritual. Materially prescribed duties are duties enjoined according to one's material conditioning. Spiritual duties are the duties given by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of the Lord, whether spiritual or material. One should stick to his prescribed duties even up to death, rather than imitate another's prescribed duties. Duties on the spiritual platform are duties on the material platform may be different, but the principle of following the authorized direction is always good for the performer. Hearing about the glories of following one's prescribed duties, we become very enthusiastic and vow to become strict followers of Dharma. Life shows that such noble attempts are difficult to sustain. Why is it so hard to follow our prescribed duties? So then we will read more about now why is it so hard to follow the prescribed duties next time. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Danutana. How are you, Maharaj?
Yeah. Doing good. Now in Peru. I was in Brazil for 1 month, various places. Brazil is nice and hot. I visited Sao Paulo. Around there are 2 very nice farms. I went down to South Brazil. So I was visiting Floripa, Curitiba, Porto Alegre, various cities there. Devotees there, doing nice preaching. Devotees, I mean, it's not like in India. It's more difficult. But it's nice to see that devotees are dedicated. They want to know. They are very hungry for knowledge. And no, not all, but there are devotees who are trying to sincerely follow Srila Prabhupada's teachings. So it's some places may be very difficult because there is also going on preaching against it. So you have to be very convinced that the teaching of Srila Prabhupada are really superior. No, you have to convince yourself. You have to be able to. You need to study them. You need to keep applying them, realizing them. Otherwise, Maya will cut you. So it's good to see that the teachings are followed, that there are devotees who are enthusiastically doing it. But the fact is, previously the teaching or the yatra was much bigger. Like the biggest farm, the Navagokula, which is near Sao Paulo. Then previously there was like maybe over 100 devotees, more than maybe even, definitely over 100 devotees. There were kids, they were having Gurukula, so many things were there. But eventually, then there was not given enough attention. So they had to close down the Gurukula because no interest, no money. Very few devotees left. Now the devotees there, they are getting old. So it needs some new devotees. But why would new devotees come? They need to see some benefit. They need some profit. Why would I come? And that comes with the realizations. What actually then is the point of taking up Krishna consciousness? If we take up Krishna consciousness based on teaching of Srila Prabhupada, then it's easy, or it's easier, because everything makes very much sense. You just have to properly explain it. But if you take up some activities based on somebody thinks it's like this, then this is likely doomed to fail. And it's not going to be that nice. So that's why it's very important to propagate teachings of Srila Prabhupada as he presented it. And here we can see that's how necessary it is. Because if it's not done, then in India also things will be very different. Some things will be, some will want to follow this one or that one, or I want to read this book, or I will read this Acharya and he is superior and I like that one, and I think it's like this, and all these arguments will be there, and our society will get very much fragmented. This is we need strong leadership, and the society, as Srila Prabhupada established, based on the 7 purposes of ISKCON, also has to be reestablished. Because now many of these purposes are not really fulfilled. Now it's little shift. So we have to again realign it. So plenty of work to do.
Yes, Maharaj. That is true, I think, everywhere. It's just that in India, the numbers are higher. So,
Yeah.
some trickle down effect is there, that some will become sincere. So that percentage is higher. But I also see, Maharaj, that outside, though the numbers are less, but because we are in minority, so like a minority community has to struggle hard and have more intense sadhana. So they, in some way, also get that advantage, isn't it, Maharaj? Because here we take it lightly. Yes, it is our culture, you know. So that intensity is not there. But outside, we see those who are sincere, their sadhana is very intense.
Yeah. Because they understand now if you don't follow your sadhana, you will fall for Maya. And you may say, well, it's a regulated Maya. But no, that regulated Maya becomes unregulated Maya at some point because the attachment will grow. So we perform the activities based on regulative principles, but we should not be attached to them. That's
Yes.
important, yes.
Yes, Maharaj. It becomes difficult for the Grasta especially to draw the line. And also we read in the purport also, you were reading that from unregulated we have to come to zero stage, not remain that unregulated. Like you said, it becomes, then regulated becomes unregulated because it is very difficult to draw a line if we take shelter of our mind and give our own reasoning. Yes, Maharaj, I see that very much in my case also. So thank you, Maharaj. And let me ask devotees, Maharaj, if they have any question. Hare Krishna, devotees. So do we have any questions from the third chapter we read, 17 to 35th verse we read? Do we have any questions? Okay. No
Hare
questions,
Krishna.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna.
Yes, there is one
Hare
question.
Krishna.
So Maharaj, you explained in, I think it was verse 19, in terms of one has to maintain his own enthusiasm, like we have to give enthusiasm to others, right? When they're coming in, making them more comfortable with Krishna consciousness. But the question is, Maharaj, I myself feel that I do not have that much enthusiasm. So how can I give, or how to maintain our own enthusiasm on daily? Any practical tips for it, Maharaj?
See, it's very simple. Enthusiasm, it's increased and maintained by realizations. So if you are gaining realizations from your activities, your enthusiasm will be maintained and increased. If you are not getting realizations from what you are doing, it will be diminishing. So in the beginning, passion, you do it, fine. But if you are not getting realizations from what you are doing, it will diminish. So that's why whenever we do any activity, we have to work on the quantity, but especially on quality. It's like a japa. In the beginning, you promised to your spiritual master, you will chant 16 rounds. Fine, okay, you do it for some time. But if you are not chanting without avoiding Naparat, if you are not chanting properly, then you may not get much realizations from chanting. Right? Now in Harinam Chintamani, Haridas Thakur says you can chant 1 or 2 or even 3 lakhs. But if you are not chanting properly, you will not get anything from it. And if you are not getting anything from it, then you will start doubting. I'm chanting so many rounds and I'm not getting anything. Maybe it's not working, the system. Oh, maybe I should not chant. And your enthusiasm will be diminishing. So because you are not getting realization, and that's because you are not working on the quality of that activity. But if you work on the quality each moment, every day, you will be able to get some more realization. And that realization will give you enthusiasm to chant more. So that's the whole point. We have to work, so then the gyan which we are getting, it's applied. We need vigyan. So increase of vigyan increases your enthusiasm and your determination. Yeah?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. So nice to hear you, see you.
Yes,
So
Maharaj.
next week it should also be okay, I think. I should still be here, so we can have the session the same time. So 7:30, no, of your time.
Yes,
So
Maharaj.
should.
It works well, Maharaj. Because 7:30 more people can join because they get free from the office by that time, Maharaj.
Okay. So yeah, we can work for that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so very much. So all of us, we heartily thank Maharaj by loudly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. His Holiness Bhakti Arja Priti Vardhan Maharaj ki Jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Jai.
Haribol.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.